Hi YouTube, it's Chad again, doing another book review. Um, this one, I gotta admit, I am not too thrilled about. Uh, I'm an avid King James Bible reader and user, and if someone wants to use something else, then that's on them, and God bless them. And I'm not going to bring someone into condemnation for using a different version. Um, and I understand there are some people who do, but I'm not one of those kind of guys. But I'm always looking for information on the King James Bible and the manuscript evidence behind it, the manuscript history, the history about the translators, all that kind of stuff. So for a couple of years I've been wanting this book, and Christmas 2013 my sister finally got it for me. She got me the hardcover edition, and this is the book. Final Authority, William P. Grady. I've wanted this book for a couple years, but I just never got around to getting it. And as you can see, this one is even autographed. And at first I thought it was fake till I ran my finger over it, and that's really signed. So I'm not too familiar with that. But at first I thought, wow, this book is going to be great. It's going to be awesome. And then I started getting into it, and I started having problems. Um, it's over 317 pages in 18 chapters. And basically, what it boils down to in this book is if you don't use a King James Bible, then you're a Nicolaitan. Or you don't know what you're talking about. Um, so, just wanted to kind of show some of this stuff. I wanted to point out some of the quote unquote scholarship. Everyone knows about Westcott and Hort, and I'm not a fan of theirs, but I'm not going to slander them either the way William P. Grady has done in this book. On page 15, he quotes uh, Dr. Hort. He went to see Moody preach on the streets, and this is what Dr. Hort says, and this is the quote from Dr. Grady quoting Dr. Hort. Think of my going with Gray yesterday afternoon to hear Moody and Sankey at the Haymarket. I am very glad to have been, but should not care to go again. All was much as I expected, except that the music was inferior, and altogether Sankey did not leave a favorable impression. Moody had great sincerity, earnestness, and good sense, with some American humor, which he mostly keeps under restraint, but in matter is quite conventional and commonplace. Close quote. Now, listen to Grady's explanation of that. It is humorous to see that despite Hort's highbrow description of Moody's manner as common, his message was convicting enough to send the good doctor running, but I should not care to go again. Of course, it was the preaching from a 1611 authorized version which so unnerved Professor Hort. Where in the world is he getting that from? Is he completely brain dead? That had nothing to do with it. And if you actually go back, rewind this, and read the quote from Dr. Hort, he seemed that he thought Moody was okay, but he really apparently did not like Sankey that much. There was not a problem with the preaching, he just thought it was conventional and common. It wasn't anything really super spectacular. He was not running down anything about the King James Bible. He was not showing any fear about the King James Bible. And this is where this author, Dr. William P. Grady, really slanders this man. Regardless if you agree with Dr. Hort or not, to do to twist what is said by Dr. Hort the way William P. Grady does, that's slanderous, and it's wrong. I mean, if Dr. Hort had said something about it, then by all means you'd have some ground to stand on, but he has no ground to say what he said. So far, I'm through the first 6 chapters. I'm about to get into chapter 7. But I'll tell you what, after reading the first 3 or 4 chapters, chapter 6 was about the last 12 verses of Mark 16, whether they belong in the Bible or not. And I tell you what, reading the previous chapters of this book, I don't know if I can even trust anything about what I read without having to go and check every single one of the references myself. Because from other things I've read in here where he's calling people's names, and I don't mean he's calling their names, I mean he's calling them names. This guy, I understand being on fire about your favorite Bible translation. I understand that. But this guy's at the point where he's almost damning a person if they're using anything but a King James Bible. I mean, like I said, he's got this whole thing of the Nicolaitans, the laity conquerors. And to a point, to an extent, he may have a slight point. But he really just sets himself up as the judge of all things. And I got to say, if you're looking for a book that's going to be fair and unbiased and at least as honest as possible, on my tablet I downloaded on Google Play Store, I downloaded Crowned with Glory by Dr. Thomas Holland. That's a pretty good book. It's fair. It's reasonable. I'm only through a couple chapters in it, too. But I'll tell you right now, the guy who wrote the foreword to that is actually in opposition to the author's position. In other words, Dr. Holland is not... Dr. Holland is a King James Bible user and supporter, just as I am. And the man who wrote the foreword is against him. And the man who wrote the foreword suggests people actually read his book. So that should show you that should give you an idea what that book is like. So if you're looking for books on history about the King James Bible, this is one to definitely stay away from. There is lies, there is slander, misrepresentation of facts. And because of that, the chapter I was starting to get into on Mark 16, 9 through 20, I love stuff about manuscripts and manuscript history and manuscript attestation. I studied that for a year or so, and I tell you what, I don't know if I can even trust anything in that without having to go and check every little detail because of the way Mr. Grady presents his quote-unquote evidence. So, yeah, I would definitely say stay away from Final Authority by William P. Grady. Like I said, this is the hardcover, and I gotta say, this is exceptional quality, though. I mean, there's the train. It's put together very well, like a really good solid binding and cover. But yeah, don't know what I'm gonna do with this. Probably just going to put it on the bookshelf, maybe right on the inside. I mean, I'm going to have to finish the book before I can completely judge it, but I wanted to give people a heads up as far as we are right now. But if this book doesn't get any better, I'm just going to write on the inside here, this book is pure heresy. And stick it on my shelf and leave it sit there, because this was a Christmas present, and I appreciate my sister who got me this for Christmas. But now I regret ever asking for it. So YouTube, this is Chad. I will talk to you later. Grace and peace. God loves you. I love you. Have a good day. I'm out of here.